Okay, here in part 8 of this module on leading change, we're going to talk about a third principle from John Kotter on how to be a leader of change. We've talked about creating a sense of urgency. We've talked about building a guiding coalition or a change team to help you make a change. And now we're going to be talking about this principle of forming a vision and strategy. And this should be pretty straightforward because our entire first module of this course on strategic leadership was all about developing vision and strategy, right? So we already know the significance of being visionary, of having a vision, and how that is a necessary component of being a strategic leader. And it's also a necessary component of being a leader of change. So really, we're just talking about, as a leader of change, we absolutely need to define and clarify a motivating and inspiring future that our ministry is all about, that people can look forward to. This is why we exist as a ministry. This is what we're hoping to achieve. This is what we think God is going to do. And if we can articulate a compelling, inspiring vision to people, and explain how we think it's going to be possible, what's the approach or the strategy we're going to take, high level, to achieve this vision, if we can clearly articulate that to our staff, to our people, they are much more likely to be excited and motivated to be a part of the ministry and to be willing to make whatever changes and take whatever steps are needed to be taken in order to see that vision be fulfilled. Because the process in getting there is not easy. There are challenges along the way, or there are things that your staff are going to have to do that may not be easy, that may not be comfortable, that may be difficult. But if they can be motivated and inspired by clearly articulated vision and strategy, they are much more likely to be willing to make that change or make the changes that you're requesting out of them and take the action you're requesting out of them. So again, back to our case study example, hoping that your team is going to be willing to shift and all get visas under a particular foundation. Again, if you as the leader in that situation can articulate, what is our ministry about, right? Why do we exist? And the case study doesn't say. But let's say, for example, if I want to encourage my people to really, hey, we need to get these visas under this foundation, maybe I come back to our original purpose for existing, why we exist as a ministry. And let's say, for example, it's, hey, we believe that God called us to this little community or this little village, and he wants to see, he wants this to become a Christian community where there are no believers. God says there are going to be believers, and we're going to transform this community, and he's calling us to be a part of that. And he's told us that in order to see this community transformed, he wants us to come in and serve the people with what we know they need. And right now, what they need and want is learning English. So we've decided we're going to come in and we're going to be teaching them English. We're going to be developing relationships with them, developing trust, and in the process, a part of our strategy and approach is we're going to be able to share our own personal stories, biblical values, biblical stories, and we're going to trust that through those trusting relationships, God's going to bring people to us who have a thirst and hunger to know him. They're going to decide to become believers and become disciples, and they are then going to be part of the springboard to reach out to the rest of their community. And this is how we see God calling us to be a part of this community transformation. If that is the vision and strategy, for example, you can bring your people back to when you're talking about this change to getting a visa under a foundation. You start with a vision and strategy, and then you say, and with that in mind, with this vision and strategy in mind, we know that we absolutely, as staff, have to have visas to be here. We have to have the legal right and authority to be in this nation. And so far, we haven't been able to find anything besides coming in on language visas, which are good for a year or two, but that require us to study language almost all the time and therefore not have much time to do our regular ministry of teaching English and developing relationships. So we know we need a longer term solution for our people to be able to stay in country long term in order to accomplish this great vision, right? And so you start to tell a story, starting with your vision and strategy and making a compelling story about how that relates to the change you're wanting them to make. So this is an example of forming a vision and strategy and how it's an essential component and principle in leading change.